That evening was when he first learned that Taya was not born a female.
In our Trans Day of Remembrance video last year, we highlighted the stories of many trans women whose lives ended in tragedy. Taya Ashton was one of those women, and at the time of our video, her ex-boyfriend DeAllen Price was facing sentencing for her murder. In today's video, we'll take a look back at Ashton's case, before we dive into the update on Price's sentence, why he chose to take her life, and what the future holds for the community of District Heights, Maryland.
Taya Ashton, 20 years old, had the desire to become an entrepreneur. She had been putting money aside to buy her dream car, a Tesla. She had also begun the steps of opening a clothing boutique and started an Instagram account to market her new business the week before she died. Her grandfather described her as having had a beautiful soul, with a bright presence that would light up any room. Unfortunately, that light was turned off back in 2021 when she was found shot to death in her apartment in Maryland. Her boyfriend DeAllen Price was arrested and charged with her murder. Detectives linked phone conversations between the victim and DeAllen.
In Prince George's County, a grand jury returned an indictment against a man accused of murdering a 20-year-old woman who was transgender. Prosecutors say 27-year-old DeAllen Price shot and killed Taya Ashton in her apartment in Suitland on July 17th. You're looking at the state's attorney, Aisha Braveboy, there. Now, Price was arrested the next day on unrelated charges after running from officers and onto the metro tracks at the Pentagon City Station. That's where investigators say they found the weapon linked to Ashton's murder. Prosecutors and police say this was not a random attack.
We don't know exactly what the motive is at this point, but we do know that they were in a relationship.
Yeah, a romantic relationship. Price is still being held on those unrelated charges in Arlington. Now in Prince George's County, he's charged with first and second degree murder.
Present day, DeAllen is behind bars awaiting his trial date, as this is an ongoing case.
So the man who pled guilty has been sentenced to 60 years behind bars. Alexis Wainwright with us in the studio with more reaction from the state's attorney's office. So what are we hearing?
Well, guys, just 3 hours ago, we heard from PG County State Attorney Aisha Braveboy, who says this has been an emotional case, but she's happy with the outcome. Taya Ashton's family was also there, but they did not want to speak.
Nearly 3 years later,
today, we are proud to say that we secured justice for her and her family.
29-year-old DeAllen Price has been sentenced to nearly 5 decades behind bars following the death of 20-year-old Taya Ashton, a transgender woman in Suitland.
We took into consideration the fact that Taya had rights to be here, rights to be alive.
Back in 2021, PG County Police say they found Ashton shot to death inside her apartment.
Taya's death was a real tragedy for our community as well as for her family.
In court, it was later revealed the two knew each other and had an intimate relationship. PG County Assistant State Attorney Sherry Waldrop says Price shot and killed Ashton after an argument.
That evening was when he first learned that Taya was not born a female, and that in response to that, he reacted and shot her. That was just a chilling thing to hear. I mean, it's horrifying. It's unacceptable.
Now, the attorney's office said this case was also difficult because there was no witness and it was largely circumstantial. But Price pled guilty to second-degree murder and use of a firearm in a commission of a crime of violence.
We tell you now about a 2021 murder in Prince George's County, Maryland, that really put the spotlight on the LGBTQ community.
Today, the man convicted of killing a transgender woman was sentenced to nearly 50 years in prison. 20-year-old Taya Ashton was shot and killed in her Suitland apartment.
And advocates in the transgender community say that this really speaks to a much bigger problem. We're talking about acceptance. DC News Now's reporter Yamri Sase has the story.
Today's sentencing definitely brought closure to the community, but advocates say that the death rate in the transgender community is becoming too much.
It's very upsetting to me and definitely the community.
20-year-old Taya Ashton, a transgender woman, is described as a loving, fun person. And 27-year-old DeAllen Price, who was her intimate partner, pled guilty to fatally shooting her inside her Suitland apartment back in 2021.
Over 375 transgender people were murdered. It was one of the deadliest years since they started recording the deaths of this community.
The Prince George's County State's Attorney's Office announced on Wednesday he was sentenced to 48 years.
I wish it was light to the death penalty, but yeah, that is great. I mean, 48 is a lot of years.
During sentencing, he finally answered the big question, why he did it.
That evening was when he first learned that Taya was not born a female, and that in response to that, he reacted and shot her.
Karen Kendra Holmes, a trans community advocate, says there's a bigger problem, acceptance and safety.
It is scary. I mean, for any trans person, they want to be loved, they want to be accepted for who they are, but, it just isn't happening.
Holmes works with many coalitions across Prince George's County to offer the trans community the support and safe space they need.
Help them with resume building, role playing across the table with them on job interviews, and also dress for success. So it's a lot that we're trying to do, and Prince George's County's taken a real strong head on that.
Holmes says Ashton's death is one of many across the country, and she wants to put an end to that.
I'm trying to affect as many people out there to just do the same thing, helping somebody else out there, because once you do, that's just going to inspire and help somebody that really needs your help.
Reporting in Prince George's County, I'm Yamari Sase, DC News Now.
As with most of these tragic stories, they often spark heated debates and raise important questions about acceptance and understanding in our society. The fact that Price claims he murdered his girlfriend after discovering she was not born a female is a tragic and disturbing event. It highlights the deep-rooted transphobia and discrimination that still exists in our world today, and that cowardly excuse puts blame on the victim, dehumanizes them, vilifies them, and demonizes an entire community of people. These men know whom they are dating. A lot of them intentionally seek out trans women, some for hookups and others looking for a relationship. I am positive that the argument which led up to Taya being murdered had nothing to do with her gender, but of course, Price thought he would get away with a slap on the wrist if he made it seem like he had just found out that his girlfriend was trans. And I am glad that a jury did not fall for it. After having stayed over her apartment on numerous occasions, where he had been intimate with her, prior to pillow talking and having deep conversations, and he didn't know? Stop the BS. Taya was a beautiful young soul with hopes, dreams, and loved ones who are now mourning her loss. Her gender identity does not diminish her worth or the tragedy of her death. We must show compassion and empathy towards all victims of violence, regardless of their gender identity. Let us honor the memory of Taya and all other trans women who have been the victim of violence by working towards a more inclusive and understanding world for all. Rest in peace, Taya Ashton.